be scared and be very warned. Why? Because by the furnace of hell. Ooh, that's hot. Not really. Nice fire though. Ooh, that's really hot. Really, really hot. Okay, yeah. That's working. That'll warm up now. Anyway, no, it's... okay, gun confiscation in New York. Yeah, where else? Oh, it can't happen here. It can't happen here. Yeah, it's happening there. Apparently, and I've seen the letters, and there seems to be more than one of them going out. So I don't think this is just a guy who has some sort of prohibitionary order. It's on mainstream and stuff like that. But people are getting letters, and this is the type of, you know, kind of guns and stuff. Yeah, I just did. Yeah. The fire from hell. Fire supposed to do. Anyway. So the type of guns that they're banning, okay, after the Sandy Hook shooting, and this is typical of the left. You know, again, whatever Obama says, he's going to do the opposite. We're not going to take your guns. And I hate it when I hear these progressives and left-wing people going, we're not going to take your guns. We're just going to take these guns. So what are these guns? Well, here's some of the lists that I've seen. And this is basically the New York City Police. And what they did is they sent out a letter and said, you are in possession of a firearm that holds more than 7 rounds. Which, in this day and age, there's an awful lot of firearms that hold more than 7 rounds. And on this guy had like a Marlin 22. He had basically, okay, if they're willing to ban at 22 anything, they're willing to ban anything. Just, you know. So, oh, well, all these right-wingers are so... well, okay, I'm not being fair here, because there is a lot of left-wing people that are very pro-gun, too. You know, is it a left-right issue? But it's typically from the left, and you can't deny that, you know, Chicago, New York is very left-wing government-wise. And, again, this is not a majority rule. This is a minority that's saying, you have to comply to us. I mean, people did not demand their guns be taken away. People don't demand that stuff. This is the whole irony of government, is they come up with laws, and it's the same here in Canada. They come up with laws, but they don't ask, should we come up with law? Do the people actually want this? No, they just do it, and then they expect you to comply to it. And I'm like, well, here's what's going to happen. One of 3 things. Either people are going to comply and just say, well, look, it's not in my best interest to go against the system, because I don't want to make the sacrifice. And that's probably most likely what will happen, because that's what's happened in Australia. I mean, Australia, they've banned the semi-autos. I mean, they can have the handguns, they can have rifles, and they're going after everything. I mean, it's incremental. Gun control is incremental. It's same here in Canada with Bill C-68. You know, we have to get rid of that because it's incremental. We're just going to ban one thing at a time. You don't see it going. That's the idea. You know, it's a slow control like that. But people are picking up on it. But the thing is it's how you react to this. The second thing that might happen is mass civil disobedience. The third thing that will happen is actually door-to-door confiscation. Now, door-to-door confiscation, the Chinese are already willing to do this for the American government. They've already openly said that last year. You know, Mr. Obama, you need to get the guns out of, So we know it's a communist agenda. We know it's a communist agenda. It's so clear, it's so obvious. The statistics are so heavily in favor of pro-gun ownership. You know, and I tell people, don't take my word for it. You know, look into it. Now, as a gun owner myself here in Canada, and you know, fairly new to the what we call restricted firearms up here, which are like basically handgun and short-barreled carbines. I won't get into the gun laws too much up here because they'll confuse you. There's no rhyme or reason for our gun laws. It's we think and we believe kind of gun laws, and you know, that type of thing. Most gun laws are. But the point is this: is that whenever they do ban something, there's no logic to it. Okay, there's no clear cause and effect of we get rid of this will happen. A great example of how it happened is the same way it happened here in Canada, and the reason why we have so... Like, I mean, when it's getting to the point where you can own more different types of guns here in Canada than in New York City, you got to start questioning the people in charge. America is supposed to be the holy grail of gun ownership, right? I can own a Marlin 22, you know, that's no problem, even if it holds more than 7 rounds. You know what I mean? Like here in Canada, our semi-automatic rifles are all pinned. Centerfire semi-automatic rifles are pinned to 5 rounds, but you can still have like a 20-round magazine. And there's like a 3-year, you know, like there's like our gun laws are all criminal offenses. None of them are misdemeanors. They're all criminal offenses, which this is a big problem for gun owners. Now, just to give you an idea, okay, there's typically about 40,000 crimes committed with firearms in Canada every year. Okay, we had a gun registry, the long gun registry. Our handguns, unfortunately, they've been registered since 1934, but yet they cannot produce a single name of a single person it actually saved. You know what I mean? Like this is the logic we're dealing with. So we know it's just we don't want you to have guns, and we're banning it either through red tape, making it so hard for people to get that they just don't want to get it. And that's why most people don't own guns in Canada. It's just because it's not practical, not because they don't want them. I would say 80% of people are neutral. 10% are hardcore for it, 10% are hardcore against it. But in Canada, there's more guns than there are people, even though it's not acknowledged by the officials. You could just do the math. 11 to 19 million guns left after World War II, they estimated. There's 8 million guns roughly that were registered before the scrapping of the long gun registry, which the data is still there. And also like the long gun registry is tied up in my province, Quebec. They're trying to keep it. So technically, everybody else don't have to abide by it, but the data is still there. That means the police can still use it. In Calgary, the High River gun grab, which is, a major offense of our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. I don't care if you hate guns or love guns. If you just look at the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, they basically took people's property without warrant, unlawful search and seizure. Yes, we have that here in Canada. I wish more RCMP officers would, abide by that. Because it gets to the point where people, like when the law enforcers don't abide by the law, well, the people are going to start to rebel. And of course, here in Canada, we're a long way from that. Again, we're just kind of at that kind of stalemate where our gun laws aren't really getting any worse, but they're not getting any better. Arguably, you could say the Conservative government is more of a liberal government, socialist, fascist. They don't really care one way or another. If they think they're going to get votes out of it, they'll give you a bit, but they're not giving you much. Now, getting back to what I said, about 40,000 crimes per year in Canada, okay? Now, after the gun registry it was scrapped, so to speak, assuming that the law enforcement is not using it, which I highly doubt they're not using it, they still use it here in Quebec. I'm sure they're still using it because the data is still there, and the RCMP, the RCMP in New Brunswick has the data, and they can share it to any police force in Canada, provincial or the RCMP. So the anti-gunners are like, oh my God, it's going to be shootouts at the OK Corral, the crime rate's going to go up. Now, what you need to know is firearms-related crimes have been going down steadily since 1977 here in Canada. 1 year after, okay, they get rid of this just gives you an idea of the paper crime. Okay, this is exactly what I thought would happen. We had an 85% drop in the crime rate in Toronto, which is great for Toronto, and a 35% drop in firearms-related crimes across the country. So what they're really saying is people who don't have registered rifles weren't getting charged anymore. You see what I mean? So the crime did not go down. The bad crime, the stuff you were actually worried about, not the guy didn't register his rifle crime, the paperwork crime, the really victimless crime. It's that the gang thugs and stuff like that. That's still the same. That's still the same. So that's the thing about it. And you have to understand, gun licenses are also gun registries. They don't tell you how many guns a guy owns, but they know where to look. And that's what happened in High River, as they used that system as well as probably. I mean, it was so well organized, and they broke into 1,900 to 2,000 homes, seized about 700 firearms that were supposed to be in plain view when people were like hiding them here, there, and everywhere. So these people were looking for the guns. And they said, well, we took them at first because we were afraid that they would get in the hands of criminals. They're very valuable. We didn't want people to lose, their investment. But yet, the jewelry and all that stuff's left there. You know what I mean? So we know what they're up. They don't want you to have guns. They don't like you to have guns. They don't trust you. They don't like you. So in New York, getting back to the New York thing, well, what you're seeing is that, they're basically saying, and I saw this on RT where, because I study the gun statistics around the world as much as I possibly can. The lady, and you can tell her she's just like as anti-gun as possible. Well, two anti-gunners, Ben Swan on there, very clever guy, very smart guy. RT itself, Russia Today, well, of course they're anti-gun. At least they try to make it look like they're not. The CBC here in Canada, of course they're anti-gun. Because they never report the pro-gun stories. A great example is 3,600 times a year Canadians use firearms in self-defense against two-legged predators, and about 65,000 times a year to 80,000 times a year, depending on the year, four-legged predators. So guns save lives, but nobody wants to talk about that. So this lady says, look, you have, I can't remember if she used Arizona or Texas as the thing, say, look, we have the strictest gun laws, we have the lowest crime rate with guns, or the lowest murders with guns. So, which didn't add up to me, and here's why. They had probably the official number from New York, which, okay, great. But what they did with the other states, is they add, and you'll have to look into it for yourself because I don't know the exact numbers, but what they did is they added the suicides into the number, which will increase the number. Now, arguably, yes, you could say a suicide is a murder because technically it is illegal to murder even yourself. But that is a total separate issue if you cannot divide that issue. And again, here in Canada, we got proof of this as well. Again, don't take my word for it, look it up. We started locking up our guns, okay? The argument was, if you lock up your gun in the amount of time it takes somebody to take the trigger locks off the gun, load the gun, open the locker, get it loaded and all that, it might give them enough time to kind of come to their senses so that they don't do something bad. Not so. Yes, suicides went down dramatically by fire, almost half, from about 1,400 on average every year to about 700 on average every year in Canada with firearms. However, hangings went up. So when somebody's, the first question you really need to ask yourself, when somebody's that far gone to be able to do anything, I understand why they use the gun, and they brought up the point in the RT interview that yes, it's a very efficient way, it's almost an absolute that it will work. That's why people do it. I get it. But the real question is why are they doing that in the first place? I mean, how far gone do they have to be able to take their own lives? They got to be pretty hurt. So maybe it's not really about the gun. And if the gun's not there, I mean, what are we going to do? A rope registry by the foot or something? You know what I mean? So it's really ridiculous. So I'm looking at these letters going out in New York State, and it's like, okay, so that they, you know, with the left, you will always get doctored statistics. Yes, you will get doctored statistics from the right, but if you take them from the FBI sources here in Canada, take them from Stats Canada, the RCMP, they are pretty on the level. I think they don't really doctor the numbers here in Canada. You don't take them from the Coalition for Gun Control. You can look at what they have to offer, but then try to prove what they said is correct. That's where you catch them in their lies. All the anecdotes. Now, I'll give you an idea. I'm going to make this a two-parter. Okay, hi and welcome. Be scared and be very warned. Why? Because I'm by the furnace of hell. Ooh, that's hot. Not really. Nice fire, though. Ooh, that's really hot. Really, really hot. Okay, yeah. That's working. That'll warm up now. Anyway, no, it's... okay, gun confiscation in New York. Yeah, where else? Oh, it can't happen here. It can't happen here. Yeah, it's happening there. Apparently, and I've seen the letters, and there seems to be more than one of them going out. So I don't think this is just a guy who has some sort of prohibitionary order. It's on mainstream and stuff like that. But people are getting letters, and this is the type of, you know, kind of guns and stuff. Yeah, I just did. Yeah. The fire from hell. Fire supposed to do. Anyway. So the type of guns that they're banning, okay, after the Sandy Hook shooting, and this is typical of the left. You know, again, whatever Obama says, he's going to do the opposite. We're not going to take your guns. And I hate it when I hear these progressives and left-wing people going, we're not going to take your guns. We're just going to take these guns. So what are these guns? Well, here's some of the lists that I've seen. And this is basically the New York City Police. And what they did is they sent out a letter and said, you are in possession of a firearm that holds more than 7 rounds, which in this day and age, there's an awful lot of firearms that hold more than 7 rounds. And on this guy had like a Marlin 22. He had basically, okay, if they're willing to ban at 22 anything, they're willing to ban anything. Just, you know. So, oh, well, all these right-wingers are so... well, okay, I'm not being fair here, because there is a lot of left-wing people that are very pro-gun, too. You know, is it a left-right issue? But it's typically from the left, and you can't deny